Hey everyone, welcome to Crypto Data. So we've seen Bitcoin rise off the recent fall it had to 5,100. As you've known, Bitcoin fell to 5,100 a couple days ago and it had a strong bounce around that support, and it's sitting all the way back up to around 5,700. There's been a lot of people buying it in anticipation of the Bitcoin gold fork, as well as there's been a couple other articles come out that I think have contributed to it, as well that as have shown the reasoning why more people have been buying it. So if we look at first article here, it was published about 9 hours ago. It's on Bloomberg. It says industry executives think Bitcoin ETF is on the way. So for those who don't know what an ETF is, it's basically an exchange traded fund to where people that are outside, say who trade with stocks and normal companies, they can actually invest in Bitcoin through this exchange traded fund to where it'll track the movement of Bitcoin, but they won't hold the risk of, say, being in an exchange and maybe it closing down or them not being able to get their money back. Exchange traded funds are really secure. They're held by certain companies, and all you do, you invest in that fund and it tracks Bitcoin to where you can get the same returns as if you were invested in Bitcoin from the get-go. So it's basically for people who are a little more risk averse, don't trade in the exchanges, but they still want exposure to Bitcoin. So basically it says Bitcoin exchange traded funds are coming, helped by the emergence of derivatives on the digital currency, according to industry executives. So it talks about this guy who is Don Wilson, who's the founder of Chicago-based trading powerhouse DLW Holdings, said at a panel at the Futures Industry Association annual conference in Chicago that it seemed obvious that futures and options will lead to an ETF. So it said once a derivative is launched, a Bitcoin ETF will follow. And if you heard, there's a company, Ledger X, they won the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission approval in July to offer options, while CBOE Global Markets Inc. wants to create futures this year early in 2018 pending CFTC approval. So Ledger X is an institutional trading and clearing platform that has received approval from the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, to trade and clear swaps and options on Bitcoin. So that was big news when it came out. Basically, it says they have the go-ahead to start getting everything ready to be able to trade, to clear swaps and trade options on Bitcoin, which options, basically, if you've traded stocks, options are kind of a little bit riskier than that. You can get more returns from them, and it's basically like predicting if you'll think the price is going to rise or the price is going to fall, and the returns are magnified versus just a regular stock. So that would be really big. That would kind of introduce a new type of trading for Bitcoin, as well as increase its exposure to other investors out there. So it says they comprise of Goldman Sachs, MIT, CFTC alumni who bring financial expertise and regulatory experience to the firm. So there's a lot of important people in here, and they're working on this as we speak. So since they had the go-ahead in July, then that's just one more thing to look forward to. They're already talking about, this other company is talking about having futures in 2018, which is even riskier than options and chance for even more returns. So it says there's currently no way to trade derivatives on Bitcoin or other digital currencies in the U.S. right now, which is a roadblock for traders who want to hedge positions. So by creating an ETF, you'll eliminate that, and you'll be able to increase more exposure to Bitcoin based off who wants to invest in it and those more risk-averse people. So I think some of the biggest news in this article is it's saying, as we go down here, it talks about the CBOE Futures Exchange. So it says, it's a pretty reasonable assumption that a Bitcoin ETF is coming, said Michael Millay, Managing Director of Product Development at the CBOE Futures Exchange. People are looking for something fresh in a new ETF space. Whether there's a huge demand for it, we would find out. Certainly people are going to try it. So basically the Chicago Boards of Options Exchange is the biggest options exchange in the U.S. I mean, it's in Chicago and it is huge. It's kind of like, in Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange. The Chicago Board of Options Futures Exchange basically deals with that market, as well as many of the options that are traded for any of the stocks. So for them to be bullish that Bitcoin is going to be an ETF, I think that's definitely a good sign. And in order for an ETF to come about, companies need to be able to have a lot of that Bitcoin to hold, so that people who buy those ETFs, that company can have that Bitcoin available in order to track Bitcoin and to give those investors basically that amount of Bitcoin. So I think that's one reason why we've seen the rise in Bitcoin, as well as we approach the Bitcoin gold fork, the hard fork for Bitcoin Gold. And they also say, Bobby Cho, a trader at DRW's Cumberland Mining Unit, said that within the next 12 months, we can confidently say an ETF will come to market. So in the next year, we're going to see an ETF in Bitcoin, and that is going to explode the price. You're going to have all these people investing in Bitcoin. You're going to have people who invest in stocks right now go into Bitcoin, because now they have an exchange-traded fund where they can invest their money into, and it's just like a mutual fund, except with returns of a stock. So they're getting the best of both worlds, and they're getting exposure to Bitcoin, which by that time everyone's going to be talking about it. So there's a lot of good things in this article, and basically it's just saying there's challenges, but pretty much the roadmap is there, and it's just basically getting everything in line to get that ETF approved for Bitcoin and to get it moving. So we have a lot of people talking about it, and it's definitely something to look forward to in the future, because once they start releasing ETFs, next thing you know, they're going to have options, they're going to have futures, then everyone's going to be investing in it. So because there's going to be different avenues, and you won't have to have just an exchange to trade on. You can trade whatever way you want to trade Bitcoin, just like you trade a stock. So it's going to increase the exposure, increase the accessibility, and it's going to be huge, and that's when we'll really see the price skyrocket. So besides this, there's something else I wanted to show you. So an article came out about Mark Cuban, and basically in this article he says that you might take 10% of your savings and put it in Bitcoin or Ethereum if you're a true adventurer and really want to throw a Hail Mary. So this was a big article that was just published today, because on this article over here on June 29th, it said Mark Cuban, who just called Bitcoin a bubble, says he plans to invest in another digital coin. So basically Mark Cuban was involved in an ICO, and basically he invested in this ICO after he said Bitcoin's a bubble. So, and then now here, a couple months later, he says, okay, you might want to put your money in Bitcoin or Ethereum if you're a true adventurer. So that's saying a lot. If a billionaire who had a strong stance that Bitcoin's in a bubble, and now saying, okay, you can go ahead and invest your money in it. I mean, for him to get involved in it like that, that tells you, okay, even Bitcoin is changing the minds of a lot of people. So I think there's definitely good news here. You'll soon see more and more people start to come over to Bitcoin. It mentions Jamie Dimon, and how he thinks Bitcoin was a fraud, but he's always against Bitcoin, so there's really nothing new there. And it just says that basically Bitcoin, or Mark Cuban is just saying, put in 10% of your money and see what happens. So there's someone who's changed their mind on Bitcoin, and we'll start seeing more and more people talk about it as we near the end of the year and the beginning of next year. So it's a lot of good news coming out on Bitcoin. This price is looking really good. We have 6 more days until the hard fork, so keep an eye on it. It may keep rising, but again, always make sure to set your stops. And I believe sooner than later we'll see Bitcoin hit over 6,000. So we're just getting more eyes on it, and there's a lot more coming for Bitcoin. So I definitely recommend keeping an eye on it and the future articles that are coming out on it. So with that, if you haven't, go check out my Bitcoin giveaway video. I have it linked on the screen, and basically if you like, comment with your Bitcoin address and subscribe to my channel, then when I reach 500 subscribers, which I'm less than 15 subscribers away, I'll give away $50 worth of Bitcoin to 2 lucky subscribers. So I should be making that video either tonight or tomorrow, and we're almost there. I just want to show support for everyone, and thank you again. And if you like my video, please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time.